Hey BookTube, this is a variation on Friday Reads. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and I've had a little bit of trouble this past week. I had to fly to a doctor's appointment, and on the way back I left my laptop at the TSA checkpoint. Yeah, oh man, I was so upset about that, but fortunately it is on its way back to me. And I should have it in the middle of this coming week. So anyway, that's why you didn't get a Friday Reads this week. But I thought I'd make do and just kind of wing it. And so let me tell you about some of the books that I read last week. I'll start off with The Deal of a Lifetime. This is by Frederik. It is a short novella, very short, narrated by Santino Fontana. And it's good, but it's too short. You know, I needed more of the story, but it's about a man who, well, the narration was spectacular. It was fabulous. I'd never heard this narrated before, I don't think, and I loved him. He was really good. He expressed the whole thing really well, and it's a very emotional story about a man who has given his whole life to his work, ignored his family, doesn't think of himself very highly at this point in his life, and he meets a little girl with cancer because he also has cancer. And then there is another character who he identifies as Death, but when he questions her and says something about that, she says, "I am not my job." So very fast story. It's over about as quickly as it begins. I think the best part about it was the author's preface, but it's just kind of like a little idea that went through his head. So it's pretty good. It's poignant and cute. No, it's not cute. It's poignant. Yeah. Anyway, I gave it 3 stars. I thought, yeah, it was good, but I just wanted more. Then my neighbor Eric was over here for pizza over the Thanksgiving weekend, and so we started talking about books, and I mentioned, you know, audiobooks, and he said, "Oh yeah, I listen to audiobooks too when I drive for work." And I said, "Oh yeah, this, that, and the other," and I was throwing out book names, you know, book titles and stuff, and he goes, whoa, wait, back up, what did you say?" And I said whatever it was I said, and he goes, "I love RC Bray. Have you listened to," and he starts rattling off all these series. Okay, it is so seldom in my life that I run into a real life person that can talk books with me. So I was over the moon. So anyway, he suggested that I listen to the Helldiver series by Nicholas Sansbury Smith, narrated by RC Bray, because he loves RC Bray's narration. RC Bray also did The Martian by Andy Weir. So if you've heard his name before, you've heard me talk about him, that's why. He is an incredibly good narrator, and especially for this kind of a story. So I didn't know if I was up for military sci-fi. I thought, well, okay. But oh my gosh, what a ride. Oh, well, RC Bray was fantastic, and this is a series of probably what's going to be between 6 and 9 books. I read the first 3, which are Helldivers, which is the first book, and then Ghosts, which is the second book, and then Deliverance, which is the third book. And they contain a storyline probably that is going to be within the broader storyline, and it's obvious of that, or it's obvious that that's how it's going to be. But at the same time, it's a very satisfying ending to this first part of the story. Okay, so gosh, this is just non-stop action, monsters, things blowing up, people dying. Don't ever in this series, if you are reading it, get attached to a character, because oh my gosh, everybody's a red shirt. Everybody. This is about an apocalyptic future. I think it's like 200 years in the future, and there have been ships created that they run on nuclear power, but they also run on helium. And so they're kind of like a cross between a futuristic ship and a blimp. but they orbit the Earth, not in orbit, but they fly around the Earth within the atmosphere. And they have to scavenge for supplies, like ways to go down and get stuff to fix their ship. I mean, they've been doing this for 200 years. And so World War III has happened and decimated the surface of the planet. So, you know, it's like every time they go in to do something, they have to contend with mutated versions of people and, you know, animals and insects, other kinds of things like that, fish. Oh my goodness. Every time you turn around, you're just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I mean, the book is full of that. Well, in order to go get these things off the face of the planet, the ships don't land. They send down skydivers. And the skydivers have to go through these electrical storms, which were created by the war that pretty much decimated the planet. So you've got them finally getting to the surface, and then, you know, if they survive the dive, and then they got to contend with all these, you know, monsters. So anyway, so good. The first book ended on a cliffhanger, and seriously, I was ready to hunt this author down and have words with him. Have very strong words with him about the way this first book ended. But the second book picks up 10 years later, and it works out. It works out okay. And then the third book is, like I say, a very satisfying ending. But along the way, people die. People are always dying. So really, seriously, do not get attached to any of these main characters. So anyway, loved it. First book I gave 4 stars, although that's more like a 4.5. Second book the same, and the third book I gave 5 stars. Highly recommend this series. And I know it's completely a departure from all that romantic, you know, fluff that I read, but oh God, it was so good. I was not ready to leave that world. And book 4 is out. Book 5 is coming out, I think, in January or early next year. And I was going to pick up book 4 because I really wasn't ready to leave that world. But at the same time, I thought, I'm going to be upset with myself if I do this, because the conclusion to this part of the story has happened. And so I think I'm going to wait until at least the next 3 books are all out. So book 4 is out, book 5 is coming out, and book 6 will probably be out in 2020. 2020. So anyway, yeah. Okay, so then I picked up Consumed by J.R. Ward. This is narrated by Hilary Huber, Jason Carpenter, and Pete Simonelli. And it is the first book in her new series, The Firefighters. And I had never read anything by her. She is women's romantic fiction, a little bit of mystery thrown in there. And to be honest, it was just way more of that. And I'm coming into this book on the heels of all this action. So I'm thinking, where are the fires? Where's the action? Why is it I'm not hearing more about, you know, situations basically, and not characters? It's pretty deep in terms of a character study. And I didn't like that. And the romance was like way off to the side, which was what I didn't expect that. And I thought, no, I don't like that. I was just tired of it. I was tired of all the perspectives, because you got several, and all of these narrators were very good, but at the same time, well, Pete Simonelli, I wasn't as impressed with him, but that's because he didn't do a Boston accent for the character that he was voicing, and the other 2 narrators did give that character a Boston accent when they voiced him. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, one for me. I thought, no, I'm done. So I DNF'd to that one at about probably 70%. I just was bored. Then I picked up Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is his new YA novel, narrated by Susie Jackson. Really liked Susie Jackson. She was the perfect voice for this character. But this book, what didn't do it for me. You know, I didn't love it. I expected more. I don't know, I almost put it aside a couple of times, which I really liked his, is it Reckoner series? It's the Steelheart books. But this one, yeah, not so much. I don't know. It's about a girl who gets treated so badly, like so badly by the powers that be, and then she kind of has to live in a cave, and then there's a very sarcastic AI that comes into play, but a little bit pretentious. No. You know, it was like, okay, if you're going to go YA, go YA. But if you're going to go more serious, go more serious. And don't play around with this stuff. There were a lot of good battle scenes. Anyway, no. Didn't like it all that well. Gave it 3 stars. Then I picked up Christmas Eve, 1914. Because this was free through Audible. And it is part of a new thing that they have started where you get 2 free books from a small selection that they offer you every month. And there are it's a pretty wide spectrum of what you can choose from. So anyway, this is just a 1-hour novella. It's a fictionalized account of the Christmas truce that happened in World War I in 1914. This has been written by Charles Olivier and narrated by this full cast with total, all the way around sound effects. It was amazing. Cameron Dado, Xander Berkeley, Cody Fern, Damon Harriman, James Scott, John Beck, Lance Guest. That was a surprise because he was in a movie one time that I really liked called The Last Starfighter. Yeah, he's an actor. Gabe Greenspan and Nate Jones. That's the whole list of voice actors. And it was fantastic. It was this group of British guys who are in World War I, and it's what happens that night. And it's written as an epistolary novel. I say novel, but short story, very short story. In that this officer is writing to the mother of a guy who dies. I mean, it's pretty safe to, that's not a spoiler. You know that pretty much at the outset. So anyway, it was so well done. And it's a poignant, sweet story, but at the same time, it was short. It was very short. So I listened to it, like I say, in about 40 minutes because I listened at a faster speed. And I gave it 5 stars because of the production value and because of the story. And I think that this story brought out a lot of interesting character traits within the characters. They were very well defined. And I thought in order to do that in a short story like that, you got to be pretty good at what you do. And so I was impressed by that. So yeah. Then I picked up a romance. Of course I did. Yes, of course I did. And I picked up Not Quite Mine, which is Not Quite Book 2 by Catherine Bybee, narrated by Amy McFadden. And this was a cute story about a very rich woman who is longing for a family, and one day, well, she's at her brother's wedding, and it's the night of the wedding. So the wedding has already happened, and she and her girlfriend are back at the hotel, and someone leaves a baby on her doorstep. I say doorstep, but you know, like in front of her hotel room door. And it has a note and the whole thing. And so this is a second chance romance, and it's all about her dealing with the situation. Well, I figured it out pretty early on, so it wasn't a big mystery, but it was enjoyable enough. You know, Amy McFadden is a narrator that I enjoy, and she did a great job with it. So I'm used to hearing her with YA novels, but having said that, I have listened to a couple of romances that she has done. So she does this whole series, and I like this series. I'm really kind of surprised because the first book took me a couple times to get into it. But I think it was about timing and mood rather than the quality of the book. So anyway, so that was last week. Currently, I am reading Cheater, which is by Rachel Van Dyken and narrated by Lucy Rivers and Alexander Sandisi. I had never heard Alexander Sandisi. How is it that this narrator has escaped me? I have no idea. All I do is listen to audiobooks. You would think that I know this guy because he's got this list on Audible of all these books that he's done. I'm not sure. Maybe I did hear him before, but I'm so impressed with him because this book has me laughing out loud. And what I wanted last night, I thought, you know what? I think I want like a rom-com. I just want something that's going to make me laugh. So I thought Rachel Van Dyken, she's perfect for that. And I looked through all the things she did and I thought, okay, I think I saw this book before and thought, no, I don't want to read about that. But I'm glad I did pick it up because it's not really about cheating. Well, it kind of is, but I mean, it's all of us. You know, that is one of the worst things. Betrayal, being a traitor, that's horrible. And this isn't about that. This is about kind of something that happened and a mistake of communication that was you know, a miscommunication that happened. Anyway, so I'm listening to that and laughing my head off. And yeah, I have a whole slew of books that I have to tell you about in another video, and also Advent books that I will tell you about in another video too. So let me know how your weekend went and what your week ahead is like. Let me know what you're reading, and that's it for now for me. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.